Good day, everybody. I hope that you are well and also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 4 English lesson on relative pronouns. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of English Language Art, grade 4. And then we scroll down up until we get to our chapter of relative pronouns. All right, so our chapter is relative pronouns. Our subject is English language arts. Grade 4. And the lessons that we are going to be focusing on today under the chapter of relative pronouns. And the lessons that we're going to use is to use relative pronouns, which is who, whom, whose, which, and that. All right, so when it comes to relative pronouns, a relative pronoun, it introduces, so we can say a relative pronoun introduce a dependent or a relative clause that describes a noun or describes a pronoun. And we have five main relative pronouns. And the five main relative pronouns are words like who, whom, whose, which, and that. So that is our five main relative pronouns. And the relative pronouns, right? The ones that we use like who and whom, they give information about people. So who and whom, they give information about people. And to figure out whether to use either who or to whom, we need to restate the dependent clause with a personal pronoun. And if a clause uses a subject pronoun, for example, like he, she, or they, then we use who. So if we use so if we have the subject, if the clause, right, uses a subject pronoun such as he, she, or they, then we use who. So we use who if the subject is either he, she, or they. And then also if our clause uses the object pronoun such as him, her, or them, then we need to use whom. So if we use him, her, them, then we use whom. And if we look at an example, right, it says the woman who lives next door grows tomatoes in her garden. So the woman who lives next door grows tomatoes in her garden. All right. And if we look at another example, right? So we said that the woman who lives next door grows tomatoes in her garden. So here it says she lives next door. So which means that we use who, because it has the subject pronoun which is who, which is she. Then the next one says Peter, whom you met yesterday, has four younger brothers. All right. So we said Peter, whom you met yesterday, has four younger brothers. And you can say you met him yesterday, which means that we then use our the pronoun over here, which is him, and now we can identify the object over there is him, which means that we use the word whom. Right? Remember here we said that if the clause uses an object pronoun which is either him, her, or them, then we use whom. Right? And a relative pronoun, it gives necessary information about things, right? So it gives about people, which is who and whom, but it also gives about things, right? And necessary information narrows down what you're talking about and it is not set off by a comma. Okay, so when we look at the word who and we look at the word whom, right? So if we make mention of a person doing something, right? For example, like over here, we say the woman who lives next door. We're referring to one person. It's like she lives next door. So we say who lives next door, right? So who, it refers to, it gives information about people. So if we make mention of people, we can either say who or we can use whom, right? We can use the word whom if we refer to either he, she, or they doing something, which is the subject doing something, right? And then we can use the word whom if it makes mention of the object pronoun, which is, for example, if we say something that him, her, or them are doing. You see, like over here, it says the woman who lives next door grows tomatoes in a garden. So now it's a question of she lives next door. Who lives next door? The woman lives next door. But if we were to make mention of that as in the subject, we would say it is she. And if you look at the word she, then it says that she refers to, if we make mention of the subject pronoun, then she needs to, we use she to make mention of who. Peter, whom you met yesterday, has four younger brothers. Peter, whom you met yesterday, meaning you met him yesterday. You met somebody else. It's the object pronoun. And if we make mention of an object pronoun, then we use whom. So if you're referring to the next person, to somebody else, then you use whom. If you're referring to, for example, the subject, right, which is usually at the beginning of the sentence, then we use who. But then we also have things, right? Because relative pronouns, it gives information about things. And this is where whose, which, and that comes in. You can also say the couple, right? Because if you say the couple who lives next door, because remember the couple refers to they, right? They is our subject pronoun. So they is a subject pronoun. So whether you say the couple who lives next door, right? But if you make mention of the couple comes down to you saying they. And then you still have to say that they who, right? So you can say the couple, because if we make mention of the couple, then the couple can also mean they. So it's two people. We can say the man who lives next door grows tomatoes in his garden. Then we make mention of he, because he is a man. He lives next door. But if you're referring to somebody else, then we are making mention either of him, her, or them. And that is where we use whom, because you're referring to the next person whom you met yesterday. Right? So now it becomes a question of who did you meet yesterday? I met him, I met her, I met them. And that is why we use whom. All right. And we said that relative pronouns, they give necessary information about things, and necessary information narrows down what you're talking about and is not set off by a comma, right? So it is not set off by a comma. And it says, we walked to the park that has a tire swing. We walked to the park that has a tire swing. And if we were to identify our relative pronoun, all right. So we can say the information narrows down which park we walk to. It is necessary. right, so now if we look at the next one, it says we say that the relative pronoun also tells us about things or gives us information about things. And now we're making mention of whose, that. So whose, that, and which. All right, so we said a relative. So the relative pronoun which. Now we're going on to the relative pronoun which. It adds unnecessary information. Not necessary information, unnecessary information about things. For example, this extra information does not narrow down what you're talking about. It is always set off by commas. So this extra information, so which means that if we use the word which, then which is like extra information that is given, right? And it doesn't even narrow down to what you're actually talking about. And it means that it is set off with a comma. We walked to Glendale Park, which has a tire swing. And which means that if we look at the information that is given to us, right, that is actually extra information. Like, for example, which has a tire swing. Because if you're just walking to Glendale Park, everybody will know what Glendale Park is. But now you're saying, I'm walking to Glendale Park, which has a tire swing, which means that that is extra unnecessary information that is given. So if we use which, it is extra unnecessary information that is given. Then also a relative pronoun shows a possession. If we use the word whose shows possession, right? And remember, possession means that it either shows that it belongs to me, it belongs to you, it belongs to John, it belongs to Jack, right? But it belongs to somebody. It's either somebody who owns it or somebody who has it. For example, Emily, whose hair is quite long, likes wearing braids. So whose? So which means that we are making mention of Emily's hair, right? We're putting emphasis on Emily's hair. Belongs to Emily. And remember, you should not confuse who, which is this whose, with this whose. Because this whose is a contraction, which actually means who is. It is not a possessive noun or doesn't show position. All right. So now let's go to our test. Or before we go to the test, let's go to aplusstudents.ca. And we're using relative pronoun who, whom, whose, which, and that. And remember, we said we use who and whom to refer to people, and we use whose, which, and that to refer to things. Whose shows a position, something that belongs to someone, which is just unnecessary information that is added, and that refers to something. And we use who if our subject, if you make mention of the subject pronoun, she that does something, he does something, or they do something. Even like you say, if the woman, the man, the couple, we refer to who, right? Then whom refers to if you are making mention of somebody else. It's the object pronoun. Him, her, and them, right? Now we're going to our lesson where we're going to use relative pronouns who, whom, whose, which, and that. And we see the relative pronoun introduces a dependent or relative clause that describes a noun or a pronoun. And we have five main pronouns, right? And the relative pronoun, when we use who and we use whom, we refer to it or we talk about the dependent clause, which is more personal. It's a personal pronoun. It uses a subject. And remember, when we use who and whom, right, it gives us information about people. It's like, who did it? It's Jack. Who did it? It's John. It's Anna. It's them. It's the kids. It's the man. It's the woman. It's the couple that did something. All right. So now let's go to our test. So we're going to complete the sentence with the best relative pronoun, either who, whom, whose, that, and which. But if we make mention, I felt awful for Tucker. Do we say whose wallet got stolen or who wallet got stolen? All right. If we look at the next one says, I felt awful for Tucker. Do we say whose wallet got stolen? Oh, whom? Sorry. Oh, whose. Sorry, whose is correct. I thought I selected whose. Yes, well done. Sorry, I thought I selected whose already. The next one says the wheelbarrow, right? It refers to a thing. Do we say that is a Chinese invention, is a useful tool, or which is a Chinese invention is a useful tool? So do we say that is a Chinese invention or which is a Chinese invention? So we say the wheelbarrow which or the wheelbarrow that. And if we were to choose the correct option, we can say the wheelbarrow which because it's a Chinese invention that is extra unnecessary information. We know what a wheelbarrow is, right? So well done. Because which shows that they add extra unnecessary information. Rudy, do we say whom Mrs. Erickson often hires is highly skilled carpenter or whose Mrs. Erica hires is highly skilled carpenter? All right, so we say Rudy. Do we say whom or do we say whose Miss Erickson often hire is highly skilled carpenter? All right, and if we make mention of the pronoun, we say option one, whom is often hired. So well done. Option one is correct. The aquarium. Do we say which Bill bought for his cousin was difficult to wrap? Or do we say the aquarium who Bill bought for his cousin was difficult to wrap? And we can say the aquarium. Do we say which Bill bought for his cousin was difficult or who Bill bought for his cousin was difficult to wrap? All right, and if we were to choose the correct pronoun, right, then we can say the aquarium, which Paul bought for his cousin was difficult to wrap. Remember, we use which, and which shows unnecessary information after that comma. So option one is correct. Watch out for the dangerous snakes that may be hidden by the tall trees or which may be hidden by the tall trees. So watch out for that snake, for that dangerous snakes that may be hidden by the tall trees or which may be hidden by the tall trees. All right. And if we were to choose our correct option, we will choose option one and say, watch out for that dangerous snakes that may be hidden by the tall grass. And that is correct. All right, let's choose the last one. One more. It says Carrie is building a house. Do we say that Brenda designed or who Brenda designed? Remember when we use the word which is where they'll put a comma and then they'll add unnecessary information, like an extra information they'll add to it, something that you don't even have to use. But here we say Carrie is building a house. Do we say that Brenda designed or who Brenda designed? All right, so we can say Carrie is building a house that Brenda designed. All right, so well done. This is then that is correct, right? All right, so we said that is our relative pronouns. We said we have five main relative pronouns, which is who, whom, whose, which, and that. We make mention of who and whom. That refers to people. Whose, which, and that refers to things. Whose are possessive, right? That refers to something that belongs to someone, which is an extra unnecessary necessary information that is given, and that is just referring to something, right? So this is now the end of our lesson on relative pronouns. Thank you very much for joining the class. Thank you very much for interacting. And I really hope that you're going to have a good, restful, peaceful weekend further. All right. Goodbye.